Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. Today we're going to present with iText. Bruno's here from iText, senior engineer, and I'm Eric Cavazos, a project manager over at Codenvy. If you're unfamiliar with us, I'm going to give a quick introduction of Codenvy and kind of some of the values that we can bring as far as providing desktop development environments and providing them in the cloud. One of the things that we're going to do after I do the quick introduction is hand it over to Bruno, and he's going to give a full demo of iText and how they did a integration with Codenvy to provide quick value for people to get started with iText projects. Right out of the gate here, Codenvy Factories, which is a feature that Bruno is going to be showing off quite a bit here. And really, traditionally, the old way would be set up a desktop IDE, define your build system, set it up all locally, define your runtime, your ISV plugins, any plugins you might need, and then you can start building if everything's set up correctly. This can take hours a lot of times to get started. If you've ever gone through the wiki page of a setup of a development environment, you know exactly what I'm talking about. With Codenvy, what we've done is really taken that development environment and put it in the cloud. And what you've seen with a lot of Git code repositories is very similar now. A lot of code has now moved to the code repositories like GitHub, and anywhere you go, you can pull your code and start working on it. Well, the next step inevitably is the development environment. It's one thing that still boggles you down to your laptop, to your desktop. Now, taking the development environment, putting it in the cloud, and being able to click on one link and have this launch is revelational, and will take a lot of the time away from setting up your environments. So one of the things that we've done is with iText is set this up, and Bruno has been kind enough to give us several examples and several different projects to get people started. Some of the use cases of these factories can be for training purposes, for marketing purposes, for collaboration. If you are a back-end guy and you want to make a development environment for a front-end guy, and you don't want him spending time on setting all that up, you can make a factory, send it over to him. He can click on it, instantly get started with his front end. Sandbox support, obviously, and blogs, which kind of goes along with marketing. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Bruno so he can kind of show you what iText has done with their factories and how they're using everything. Doing 1 minute here before we transfer the screen. Sorry about that. We're having some connectivity issues. Bruno's going to log out and log back in right fast. Have you been limited? Disconnect. Okay. So this webinar will be recorded. If you have any questions, just post them. While we wait here, Bruno's just getting reconnected. We had a connectivity issue.
Okay, I think I'm online. No, share my screen. Okay, where am I? Share my screen. Okay.
Looks like we're good to go.
Oh.
Close every window.
Every window. That wasn't mine. Close other tabs. Codenvy. Should maybe. Can I minimize this?
Oh, just no, you can't. You have to move it.
Okay. Make it like this. Go to my workspace. Okay, well, while my workspace is opening, maybe some background why I wrote iText. I wrote my first PDF library back in '98. Back then, making PDF was something you did on the desktop manually. It's unimaginable now, but back then you couldn't get an invoice online that was made on the fly. You couldn't get a voucher that was made on the fly. And I needed something that created reports online. So I wrote my first PDF library in '98. Back then I've read the PDF specification. It was like 600-700 pages, and it was feasible to create a PDF library. But the first time I read the PDF specification, I really hated PDF because I didn't understand what it was about. But I wrote a library anyway, and after the library was being used for 1 year, 1.5 years, I really started understanding for real. And then I thought, let's throw away the old library and start with the new library, and that's how iText started. Now, for those of the webinar, there's a blog on textpdf.com/codenvy_webapp where you can see a tutorial. Important is the fact that I created code samples on GitHub, and you can import these or you can use these on GitHub. Let me just delete this and show you how easy it is to get started. Let me copy paste this and git clone. No, I think I did something wrong. It's this address. Voila. And now we should be able to get started. No project. Okay, so now you see the project here, and I've configured everything the old way, but you can use a factory where you have all this in place automatically, so where you don't need to worry about the dependencies. You see that I've imported iText PDF 545 and the servlet API, and well, let's just to see if everything works. Let's start the application with a Hello World servlet. So I clicked Hello World servlet and I said run this application. So now it's building the complete setup. So I was talking about wrote a PDF library and I didn't like it. So why didn't I like my first PDF library? Because the only one who was able to debug the application or applications using that library, that was me. To be able to use the application, you really needed to know PDF. And I wanted to create something that was really low, I wanted to lower the threshold to understand PDF. So I made a library, if that, I can scroll this down. Okay. I made a library where you were able to create a PDF without having to know anything about PDF syntax. So I created these 5 steps where you create a document, and a document doesn't really know that it's going to produce PDF. It's only when you say, I'm going to hand over the document to a PDF writer, and this PDF writer will write something to an output stream. Here it's writing to the response, to the servlet response. Only then you know that you're going to create a PDF. When I first started writing iText, I also had an HTML writer and then an RTF writer for rich text format. Now the RTF writer has been discontinued. RTF isn't that big anymore, and we didn't expertise on RTF. The HTML writer was written purely for debugging reasons, because if you have a PDF, you're creating a PDF and something goes wrong halfway, PDF is a binary format and you don't know, you can't debug a PDF. So I wrote an HTML writer where you could say, well, I have a PDF writer, get instance, and the document listens to this PDF writer. But I also have an HTML writer who is listening to the same document. And then when something went wrong, for instance, there was a source of an image that couldn't be found, then I had the image tag that opened, src equals, and then the PDF was, the HTML was. But the HTML writer, I removed it because people were using it to create HTML, and that wasn't really the purpose, because the HTML that was created was really ugly HTML. It was only for debugging purposes. So no, historically, iText is a pure PDF library. We don't create any other formats, but this explains the difference between the document and the writer classes, where we have PDF writer. We do have other PDF writer classes, for instance, PDF-A writer. PDF-A is a subset, it's a separate ISO standard of PDF. So if you want to create PDF-A, you would have as step 2, PDF-A writer get instance. And then you open the document. When you open the document, in the time that there still was an HTML writer would create the head part of the HTML, but here we write the header of a PDF. A PDF always starts with %PDF and then the version number of the PDF specification. And then step 4, we start adding content. And here for the simple Hello World application, we just add a paragraph and we close the document. So if we want to see this application action, here you see what this servlet is executed. You just see Hello World. Now, I wrote iText specifically to create reports. So one of the most used objects was the table class. So just like you can add a paragraph, you can create a table and then add cells to this table. There has been a whole evolution, because iText was first published in the year 2000, so now we're 2013. The table class has been abandoned in favor of the PDFP table and PDFP cell classes, but that doesn't matter that much. I'm just going to show another example where we have tabular data. Let me just show you what we have as data. I have here a CSV file. You could have a connection to a database, or so in my book, for instance, I use a HyperSQL database. Here I just have data with all the states of the US, the abbreviation of the states, and so on. And I'm going to import this into a PDF. So what do I have here? Okay, I have a servlet that will call an application. The application is United States app, and we get the resource as a stream, and we say, okay, app, create the PDF with this input stream. This is my very simple servlet, and I keep my business logic somewhere else. I keep my business logic, just let me see where the class is, in United States. So here we see the 5 steps of creating a document. Again, I create a byte array output stream, so I'm going to keep the document in memory. Why don't I? So the Hello World servlet wrote straight to the response output stream. some browsers have a problem with that. Some browsers, they expect chunks of 1024 bytes, and then if you don't tell up front what the length of the PDF will be, then these browsers, they add garbage after the end of file. And so what I do here is I create a PDF. I create a PDF as a byte array first, and then at the end I will tell the browser here, response set content length, how many bytes I'm going to send. So this is not necessary for all browsers, but it solves a problem. Of course, if you have really large documents, you don't want to create them in memory first. So it's a trade-off between having your help desk solve problems, saying, hey, this doesn't work on that browser, or speed and low memory use. Now, I open the document, I create a table, I define some width, so I'm going to take 100% of the width within the margins of the page, and I read my input stream, and every line I will first set the header rows for the first row, and then I will just add cells and process every record. Now, if we take a look at this example, the States of America table, now this is my resulting table. So no iText. So in my code, I have parsed every line of the CSV file, and I have added cells to a table where I say here process. I just create a table and I process a line by going over all the tokens of one record, and I add a cell with a phrase for every state. This is, let's say, 40 to 50% of the use of iText is people who create, of course, more fancy tables, but this is just a simple example. 40 to 50% of iText uses the creation of bank statements, invoices that are the result of a query. If you look here, you see that I have another use case. Again, with the data from the States, suppose that I have a template. So I've created here a very simple template. It's an acro form in PDF language. It's a form where I can fill out like California. So I can manually fill out this form. People can only save this form locally if they have the full Acrobat. So I have here Adobe Acrobat Pro. If you only have Adobe Reader, then the document needs to be reader enabled if you want to fill out and save a form. And reader enabling is done using digital signatures, so you can only reader enable a document if you have Adobe's private key. So only Adobe software can reader enable a document. But what we're going to do here is we are going to pre-fill a form using iText. Just a second. Maybe first look at what we are going to do. So I have here, for instance, a form in HTML, and I've filled out some fields. And let me just change. So let's say that somebody was born today, and we change this. And I fill out the form. So now iText has taken the original document that I just showed and has pre-filled it. And pre-filled it, you can see I can still change it. Now, this is what happens, for instance, let's take an insurance company, and you have had an accident and you need to fill out a certain form. So you go to the website of the insurance company and you log in. So these people, they know who you are, they know your address, so they don't want you to fill out everything anew. And so they take a standard form, they pre-fill it, and then you can maybe change some things and then hit submit, and the form is posted to the insurance company. Now, another use case is where you don't want people to be able to change the form. Now here let's say, 2 people were born today. Oh, yeah, my ID. I have to restart the application. Just run application, build project. So a use case, what we're going to do here, what we mean with when we say flatten, is we are going to throw away all interactivity, and so that people can no longer change what is filled out. For instance, Cirque du Soleil is using iText. They have made this really nice voucher where you can say where you can see a show, and then you buy a ticket, and they fill out, for instance, fields with the day, the hour, your seat number, and stuff like that. So what I've done now is I've taken that original form, and iText has filled it out, and I can no longer change this. This is a regular PDF without any interactive fields anymore. So imagine that this is a voucher for Cirque du Soleil, and that you buy the ticket online, and the ticket is filled out automatically. How is this? Now let's look at some code. The servlet is, again, very simple. It's an input stream that gets the state PDF, that was the form without with the empty fields, and I create a fill form app, and I say app manipulate PDF with this input stream, and the map that's all the HTML. That's the HTML query string. Those are all the keys and the values that are filled out in your HTML form. So the more important code is in our application, and our application is fill form app. So fill form. Here we no longer see the 5 steps. We see that a reader is created, and this reader will read the input stream. So this is our state PDF form. This is the PDF that is being read by the reader. We again create a PDF in memory, and we hand over the reader to a stamper, and we say, stamper, you are going to create a new PDF that will be sent to the array output stream. And then we ask the stamper for the fields. So I have a number of fields, the state name, the abbreviation, and stuff like that. And for every field, I'm going to use set field, where I pass the key and the value for the key. And then it's as simple as saying stamper close, reader close, and I have created a form that is pre-filled. So now the data is added to the form. Flattened form is almost identical. So all the code is identical. The only thing I do is stamper set form flattening true. And what iText will do here is throw away the information about the acro form and create a regular PDF, one that can no longer be changed. So this is again 40 to 50% of the people use iText to create PDFs from scratch, and then about 40% of the people use iText where they have a template. This is a static template where the fields are created using PDF syntax. You can also have dynamic templates. So here in this static template, if we have more data than fits a field, we can't change it. We are bound by the rectangles that are defined in absolute positions. There's another flavor of forms called XFA. That's the XML forms architecture, where the PDF is more like a container for XML. So you define a form in XML, and then a form can grow. So if you have data that doesn't fit the page, a new page will be added. I don't have a demo here right now to show XFA worker, but so iText is able to fill out forms like that and to flatten XML forms, but that requires an add-on on top on iText called XFA worker. Now, suppose that you have all these states, and right now we only filled out one form, but suppose that you have a database, and an example is a school that has report cards, and they have made a template for a report card for one student, and they want to fill these report cards out for every student, and then have one large PDF with 1 page per student. That's the use case we're going to look at now. Just have a look. First, how not to do it. I'm not going to click that because it takes some time. Just let's take a look at how not to do it. Again, I'm not always going to look at the servlet, but fill, flatten, and merge is how not to do it. We create a document, and now we are going to use existing PDFs. So we're not going to create a PDF writer. We are going to create a PDF copy instance. And this PDF copy instance will listen to the document and write to a certain output. We open the document and we close the document. And in between, we are going to create PDFs that will be added as a whole to PDF copy. So we create a reader that will read the empty form. We'll fill out the form, and now you see it's spelled out completely. So set field name, abbreviation, capital, city, population. Here we loop over all the data in our CSV file. So we create separate PDFs, and we close the stamper, we close the reader, and then we create a new reader with the result of the single document, and we add this document to PDF copy. So now for every state in the US, we will create a separate PDF in memory, and we will add it to the copy. Why is this a bad example? Because PDF copy is fast, but rather dumb. It will add the PDFs as is, and it won't check if there is redundant data. And here we know that there will be redundant data because we have this form, the empty form. If we have 50 states, then this form, the data for this form, will be in a document 50 times. And we want to avoid that because that's really, you end up with a really bloated PDF. So we are going to make one small change. We still use PDF copy, but we create a PDF smart copy instance. And so PDF smart copy will keep track of objects and will reuse redundant, will reuse data. For instance, it will detect the first time we add a document, it will detect the background, so the empty form, and it will save a hash in memory of this background. And then when we add the second document, it will say, hey, I've seen this stream before, and it will reuse it. So the end result will be a PDF that is much more optimized. So let's see if we can create this PDF. So here we see the same form that is being repeated for every state in the US. And this is a simple form, but again, a use case could be report cards for students where you add the student name and the grades and all his courses that he has followed. So this is a simple example. Now, there's also a hard way to do it, and the hard way to do it will lead to more optimal PDFs. So less, you will have a much lower file size, but you really have to know what you're doing if you do it, if you create this PDF the hard way. It will be faster. You will have a more optimal PDF, but yeah, well, let's just take a look at the code. Here we will ask the reader for the acro fields. So what we've seen in the previous example is that we said acro fields form is stamper get acro fields. If you ask the acro fields from the stamper, you can change these fields. You can set the value of the fields. If you get the acro fields from the reader, you have a read-only copy of these fields, and you can ask these fields for their properties. Here I'm asking these fields for the positions of every field. So I will receive data coordinates. I will receive the coordinates of a rectangle described using its lower left x value and upper right, lower left x and y value and upper right x and y value. I put these positions in a map. And so what I could do here too is I could ask for the font that is defined. I'm not doing this because it's only a simple example. For the font size, maybe the color that is used. I'm skipping all of this just for sake of simplicity. And now I'm creating a document and a writer. And I'm going to create a page event where I'm going to add an imported page in the background. So I have this template, and I say, well, every time I finished writing a page, this is my page event, background extends PDF page event helper. Every time I have finished a page, I will add the template with the background at position 0, 0. 0, 0 is the lower left corner of a page most of the times, especially when we create a PDF from scratch, that's the lower left corner. And while I'm at it, I'm also going to add page numbers. So here I say right align a phrase saying page with a page number at the coordinate 550, 800. 550, so I'm European, so the page size is A4 and a page is 595 points in width and 842 in height. So this is a page number that will be added at the top of the page. So this method on end page is going to be triggered every time a new page is being added automatically. This is going to happen because I declared the page event to the writer. Now I open the document, and again I loop over all the records in my CSV file, and I am going to process these fields. What is the process method going to do? Well, it's going to ask for the position of each field, and it's going to use column text show text aligned. It's going to print the data at an absolute position. And as soon as I've dealt with every field in the record, I'm going to trigger a new page, and then I'm going to close the document at once I went over all the documents. Again, I'll have to restart my documents. Run application. So why this example while the application is starting? Why this example? Well, it gives me an opportunity to talk about page events. Many people ask me, how do I add page numbers? How do I add, for instance, a watermark? How do I add something in the background? So page events, you also have methods that are triggered when you add a specific chunk. So a chunk is the smallest particle you can add to a document, and you can define a tag for this chunk. And so when this chunk is added to the page, you can trigger an event. But let's just here. Okay, so this is the code in action. Now we have page numbers, and it goes to page 50, so we have 50 states in the US. And so this was added in this background event. The same goes for the background of the text, and this was added with column text show text aligned. Of course, why is this the hard way? I have added text with show text aligned, and I've made some assumptions. I've made some assumptions about the font. I've just used the default font here, which is Helvetica. I made an assumption that all the text that fits into these rectangles. Now with show text aligned, if I had a state that didn't fit in this rectangle, then it would have covered abbreviation here. So that's something to take into account. When using set field, you can make sure that this doesn't happen. Either the text will be cut, or you can define a font size 0. And if you define a font size 0, iText will try to size, will use a font so that the text fits in the rectangle. Of course, you have to be careful that that you can still read it, because a font size of 1 point, nobody will be able to read it. So these are two different approaches, and both have their advantages, both have their disadvantages. There's also a fourth example where I add page numbers in a second pass. Here and how to do it the hard way, I said add page plus the page number. But iText will write pages to the output stream as soon as possible. So as soon as the page is finished, it's sent, all the bytes are sent to the output stream. This is fast, but suppose that you want something like page X of Y. You want to, for instance, say this is page 1 of 50. But the moment the bytes of the first page are sent, your program doesn't know how many pages there will be. So there's a workaround to do this. You can add a small kind of, a really small template where you say, hey, I'm going to add something here, but not right now. And then when you know the total number of pages, you can fill out that small template. So in the case of the United States, you would say page 1 of, and here I have a small placeholder. And then at the end, once you've reached the 50 states, you could say, well, on the placeholder, I put the number 50. So that's one approach to solve the page 1 of X problem. There's another solution. Let me just see. Reports of it. Fill, flatten, and merge to stamp X of Y. That's what I was looking for. So here I will fill, flatten, and merge the documents without page numbers, and then I will use the application stamp X of Y to add the page numbers, page X of Y, afterwards. So here I take the reader, I create a stamper, but now I don't create a stamper to get the fields. They are no longer there. I've flattened the form. So if you would say acro fields stamper get acro fields, you would get a null value because there's no interactivity. But you ask the reader for the number of pages. You loop over the number of pages and you say, stamper, give me the content of every page, and then at page 1 of 50, page 2 of 50, add this string, this phrase onto the existing pages. You also have a stamper get under content. For instance, if you would like to add a watermark and you don't want the watermark to cover the existing content, then you would say stamper get under content. One known problem with watermarks is if you do get under content and your existing PDF, for instance, is a scanned PDF. So somebody has scanned a lot of pages, and these pages are images. These images are put into a PDF. Now, the white of these images is opaque, and if you would add a watermark under these pages, you wouldn't see the watermark. It would be there, but it would be covered by your image of your scanned image. So be careful if you use get over content. If you want to add watermarks, it's sometimes better to use get over content and to make your watermark transparent instead of using get under content. But that's a side note. Here I'm adding page numbers in a second pass. So first I concatenate all the filled out forms, and then I read the form, and I have here my concatenated PDF forms where I used PDF stamper to add the page numbers, page 8 of 50, page 9 of 50, and so on. Okay, that's that. Now, creating a form is usually done with Acrobat, or in my book, for instance, I use OpenOffice or LibreOffice to create a form, and then I export it to PDF. But suppose that you, well, maybe let me tell you something about forms first. Forms in PDF are different than forms in HTML. You have two different concepts. You have the form where you say, I have a name of a state, an abbreviation. These are the fields, and these fields are stored in field dictionaries in PDF. And those are abstract. These fields don't really have properties that tell you where the field is located on the form. The visualization of a field is done using annotations, more specifically by using widget annotations. And these widget annotations, one field can have different widget annotations. For instance, if you have a name, that's one field, so my name is Bruno Loagi, and I can have a widget annotation on every page of a document. So suppose that I have a document with 10 fields, with 10 pages, then I could have 10 widget annotations for that one name field. So when I fill out, when I say field, form set field name Bruno Loagi, then these 10 widget annotations should show Bruno Loagi. One common mistake people make is that they see different widget annotations and they want to fill out a different value in a widget annotation that corresponds with only one field. So just make sure that you have that you know the difference between the annotations, the visualization, and the more abstract field. Why am I telling this? Well, because we are now going to merge some forms. And let me see, new merge forms. And so this is rather new in when you look at the book iText in Action, the second edition, you see that PDF copy can't merge forms because the interactivity gets lost if you use PDF copy. We changed this. You used to, in the book it's explained that you need to use PDF copy fields instead, but we upgraded PDF copy, and now if you say PDF copy set merge fields, then you can merge different forms. But here I'm going to merge my state form, and just to avoid that every field, so that just to avoid that the different pages have fields with the same name, I'm going to rename the fields. So let me show you this sample. Rename fields is going to use PDF Stamper to change the name of a field into the key, underscore, and a number, here a page number. And so what I'm doing here is I'm going to use PDF copy to merge a form 3 times, and I will change the name of the fields and then close the document. So let me just put this. I did something different here. If we look at the servlet, you see that the PDF is not opened, but I said don't open the PDF in the browser. Use content disposition attachment. File name is merge PDF, and you see that I already created a form like that once. And now you see that I have here a PDF, and let me just see if I can download it. Or, where is my save as? I'm going to save it to the desktop. Save. Okay. I'm going to use inspect PDF. Inspect PDF. What is connected to this inspect PDF? This is something called RUPS, reading and updating PDF syntax. It allows you to look inside PDF. So if I double-click my PDF, I see the document. That's in Adobe Acrobat or Adobe Reader. And this is what humans see when they open a PDF. I could open it in Notepad++, for instance. This is what a PDF looks like on the inside. I used to debug PDFs like this. So, for instance, I have here all my fields, and I would have to then with Control F say, well, I'm looking for an object 108R, and then I had to look at this object like this, saying, this is the square miles, and it's an annotation of widget, type widget, and stuff like that. It was really difficult to debug PDFs this way, so we wrote something called reading and updating PDF syntax, and now I can get a tree view of a PDF. So here is the root dictionary. That's where a PDF viewer starts reading a PDF, and I can see all the objects. So these objects are stored here like this. This is PDF syntax. But here with iText, I can really have a tree view of all my objects. For instance, this is the first page, and if I want to look at the content stream, so when I debug the PDF, I used to do something like this. I'm looking for the second object. Let's second object. Let me try and find it. So I have here the contents of a page, but it's compressed, so that's a problem if you want to debug. So I needed to extract this, decompress, and look at the stream. But now with iText, I can just say, well, show me the stream, and now I have here the uncompressed data. And I can see that on this page, we have United States of America. So here we already see that the words that are visible to the human eye may not be present in the PDF in the same way you expect it. So this is RUPS, and this can be used to really look into a PDF, but I was interested in a form, and here I can see all my form fields. I can see we have a widget annotation, and I can see the coordinates of this widget annotation on the page. So this is a field on page 3. So this is what we use at iText to debug our PDFs. For instance, if somebody says, I filled out a checkbox, I've set field checkbox 1 yes, and it doesn't work, then we go into RUPS and we look and we say, hey, but this checkbox isn't defined to have a value yes, it's defined to have the value on, for instance, instead of yes. So that's why set field to value yes doesn't work. You need to use on. I think that so I think that's more or less the different examples that I had in mind. I've covered creating PDF, not in detail, of course. I've covered filling out existing forms, and I've covered manipulating PDFs, like using PDF copy to merge them, using PDF stamper to add stuff. I hope this is kind of a brief introduction.
That's great. I think a lot of people learned a lot more about PDFs for sure. And then we had a couple questions come in. One was for actually Codenvy was about hackathons with factories using the hackathons. If you have a hackathon you want us to be involved with, you also sponsor those, reach out to me at ecavasos at codenvy.com, or just send a general contact form from a website, and I'll be happy to discuss that with you. A question that came in about iText, one of them was the software that you just showed. How do people get a hold of that? Is that something that they can use also, the iText RUPS?
Yeah, RUPS can be downloaded on SourceForge, sourceforge.net, iText RUPS. It's if you click download, you have a zip file with the code and an executable. So we have an executable for Windows, but you have the source code. You can build it on any system you like.
And one of the things I want to point out too is the long demo that you did. You showed it at the very beginning. but that's available on iText blog, and it is a very in-depth demo on YouTube, and I believe we have it posted on our website also. Another question that came in was graphics, including graphics into PDFs. I'm not sure if you touched on that much, but is there any examples maybe in the book?
Yeah, I'm currently writing a new set of books because the iText in Action second edition dates from 2010, I believe. Okay. And so graphics, let me just make the distinction first. Are we talking about images? So if we talk about images, we support the usual suspects: JPEG, GIF, PNG. WMF is a special one because we actually translate the image into PDF syntax. Okay. Graphics, if you talk about stuff like SVG, so vector graphics, the first book I'm writing now is the ABC of PDF, and you could already see I'm writing it on Leanpub. So this is me writing the book. The books will be available for free. So let's see, PDF ABC. So this is the first one of a series. I see that already 3,898 people subscribe for it. And I'll explain the imaging model that is available in PDF. Mm-hmm. So move to, line to, stroke, curve to. Those are kind of the standard things if you read an example or a SVG manual, you have the same instructions in PDF, and these are the things that I'm explaining in the ABC of PDF with iText. And I have all these very small examples showing you how to draw a circle, for instance, stuff like that. Maybe I can.
It's great. I'm glad you shared that. That was actually the question was more, I think, around charts. Another one was the licensing for enterprise models, like you mentioned, like insurance companies using like that. What type of license do they need to get? What do they need to do to make sure they're covered, legally?
Yeah. So you have the AGPL license, and so if you distribute your software as AGPL and don't have any commercial activity, then just use the AGPL. As soon as you put it on a server where people can download PDFs like invoices and stuff like that, we'd like you to buy a license. Now we have different systems. One is what we call the perpetual license. That's a server-based license where you buy, for instance, one server license, and then it's an upfront fee, and then you have a maintenance fee. Sometimes people say, but we use iText in the cloud. Those customers use our capacity rental, and so capacity rental, we get a lot of questions from startups who say we're not making any money yet. Just talk to the salespeople. We have given licenses to startups saying, look, you can use iText in a capacity rental way the first year for free because you don't have any customers, so you don't have any revenue. And then after 1 year, we look at what's the volume. And then capacity rental, you just pay an amount of money based on the volume of PDFs you create. And that's really cents per PDF and even less than cents per PDF. So that's capacity rental. So servers is more if you know we have one server, more the traditional model. Capacity rental is more the cloud model. Then of course OEM. If you have a server product that you sell or a desktop product that you sell, then it's also based on the number of servers you want to sell. So if you have if you sell tens of thousands, then the price per server is of course limited. If you say I only need 25 servers a year, then but I don't know the pricing by heart. That's the salespeople.
Is there a place that or a number that people call to get that information?
Yeah. So we have itextpdf.com/sales where you can where you have a sales form that can be filled out. Oh, that's the sales FAQ. Yeah. So I'm having problems convincing my boss or customer in buying a commercial license. That's a convince your boss license, and the benefits of having a license are on the sales FAQ. But if you want to ask a question, then it's this form that can be filled out, or you can mail to one of these addresses or phone to one of these addresses. So we're a California incorporated company, but our office is in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. It's because I live in Europe, and the time difference between California and Europe was a little bit a problem. And so this is for the European market.
All right, great. We'll wrap it up for questions. If you have any questions for Bruno, do you have an email address you can share on the screen for people to send you questions, or do you prefer them just to go through support at?
Well, no, not support at, but I'm very active on Stack Overflow normally. Okay. Not when I'm here, so I've been away from Stack Overflow a couple of days now. But Stack Overflow, there are a couple like Michael DeMay, myself, Raf Hens are people from iText who are on Stack Overflow very often. And we also have the iText mailing list. That's the normal mailing list at on SourceForge. It's itext-questions@lists.sourceforge.net. Normally you have to register, otherwise your mail is kept on hold. It's simply to avoid spam, because that address receives a lot of spam, and so we ask people to register on SourceForge, and then the mail is forwarded to us. So those are the two ways. I think if you go to /support, that the information is there. So Stack Overflow and the iText mailing list on SourceForge.
Great, awesome. Well, that concludes today's webinar. If you like a recording, that will go out to you, and I encourage you to watch the great tutorial video that Bruno made on YouTube and iText website. Thanks, everybody.